Welcome to the privacy effort. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something really quite insidious, a new threat that's been lurking inside our phones. Imagine you're just using your Android phone, tapping away, maybe playing a game, totally absorbed. And then, completely without warning, some malicious app in the background is secretly taking control. Yeah, it's unnerving. It could be accessing your camera, grabbing your location data, maybe even getting ready to wipe your whole device clean. Sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? But it's not fiction. This is a very real, newly discovered vulnerability for Android users, and it's called TapTrap. What really makes TapTrap stand out is how it completely flips our visual trust in our devices on its head. Visual trust. We use our phones assuming that what we see matches what we do. What we tap on is what gets the tap, right? TapTrap shatters that. It uses an invisible UI trick, basically hiding things in plain sight to get around Android security, even on the latest versions like Android 15 and 16. It actually exploits the very things designed to make using your phone feel smooth and nice. This isn't just another bug report. It's weaponizing the phone's own animations, the stuff that makes it look good. It's a pretty fundamental betrayal of that trust. So today, we're exploring in depth. We need to understand how this works, why it's genuinely dangerous, and most importantly, what you, watching right now, can do to protect yourself. And maybe give a heads up to people you know with Android phones too. Here are some crucial steps to protect yourself from the TapTrap vulnerability. It's essential to understand the full scope of this danger to truly protect your devices. Implementing these steps can significantly reduce your risk against advanced threats like TapTrap. Share this vital information with your friends and family to help them stay safe from TapTrap. Let's properly introduce TapTrap. It's an alarming tap-jacking attack, and it comes from some really sharp security researchers, Philip Beer, Marco Scorsina, Sebastian Roth, and Martina Lindorfer from TU Wien and the University of Beirut. The impact? It's serious. We're talking about zero-permission apps, apps that shouldn't have any special access, those harmless-looking ones, suddenly gaining access to your private data, your location, camera, contacts, or even wiping your phone remotely. That's quite a leap for a zero-permission app. And the urgency here really can't be overstated. Google knows about it. They've acknowledged the issue. But as of July 2025, Android itself is still vulnerable. The core operating system hasn't been fully patched against this specific technique yet. And this isn't some niche theoretical thing found in a lab. The research found that over 76%, think about that, 3/4 of apps on the Google Play Store are potentially vulnerable. 76%? Yeah, it's staggering. So this isn't a problem for someone else. It affects your device, likely multiple apps you use, and it affects your friends, your family, a huge chunk of the Android world. To really get our heads around how sneaky this is, let's try a little story. Imagine you download a new game. Something fun, looks totally harmless, maybe pixelated graphics. Let's call it Kill for Bugs, like the one in the user study. You're just tapping these little digital bugs on the screen, earning points. You're focused, maybe trying to beat your high score. Just a bit of mindless fun. We've all been there. But here's the twist. While you're busy tapping those bugs, some other app, a malicious one you maybe downloaded ages ago or one hidden inside another app without you knowing, has opened up something critical in the background. It could be a system permission screen, or maybe even another app entirely, but it's hidden. So your taps, the ones you think are hitting bugs, are actually landing on that hidden screen. You're not killing bugs, you're tapping allow on a request to access your location, or maybe your camera or your microphone. You genuinely believe you're just playing a game, racking up points, but nope, you're accidentally giving away your privacy. That's the core of it, isn't it? That profound visual mismatch. What you see is the game, but what your finger does is interact with something completely different, something invisible. It really makes you second-guess just casually tapping around on your phone. Absolutely. That split-second decision, that tap, it could be hijacked, which really poses the question, what if that next tap you make isn't actually for what you think it is? It's wild that our own perception, our brain, is kind of part of the vulnerability. So why do we fall for it? What is it about us, about how we use phones that TapTrap exploits? Well, it really leverages a very fundamental trust we have. And specifically, it targets the way Android uses activity transition animations. You know, the smooth, swooshy things when apps open or close. Exactly those. They're designed to make the experience feel seamless, fluid, almost intuitive. We're just conditioned to trust what our eyes see on that screen. TapTrap weaponizes that exact feature. It turns something meant for user delight into a tool for deception. So it's not just a coding loophole, it's playing on our psychology, like a digital magic trick. Precisely. A very effective one. It manipulates those transition animations. When the malicious app starts the target activity, that hidden permission screen, for example, it applies a custom animation. And this animation does one key thing. It makes that target screen almost completely invisible. It sets the opacity, the transparency, to a ridiculously low value, like 0.01, so virtually see-through, almost perfectly see-through. Think of it like placing a sheet of the clearest possible tracing paper over your real screen for just a moment. Your brain just doesn't register it as a separate, active thing you need to worry about, especially if you're focused on the game underneath. And crucially, this isn't like older tapjacking attacks that used visible overlays, those boxes that sometimes appear asking for permission to draw over other apps. Android's gotten better at blocking those. TapTrap is different. It uses the built-in animation system, so it bypasses those defenses. And the user study I mentioned really drives this home. Researchers tested this on 20 people. They told the participants an attack might happen, asked them to be vigilant, so they were primed to look for it. And yet, every single one of the 20 participants failed to notice at least one type of TapTrap attack. Every single one. Wow, it just shows how incredibly stealthy this is. It's designed to fool human perception. And, well, it works. We're just not wired to spot something that's intentionally made invisible during a fast transition. How invisible Android attacks work. Okay, my mind is slightly blown now that we get why we fall for it. Let's get into the weeds a bit. How does this invisible attack actually work? Like, step by step, what's the technical play? Okay, yeah, let's break it down. Think of it as a kind of 4-step choreography. All right, hit me. Step 1. Step 1. The malicious app, let's call it App A, launches another activity, which we'll call Activity B. Now, Activity B might not be malicious itself. It could be a totally normal app you have. Or, and this is the scary part, it could be a sensitive system screen, like that permission pop-up asking for camera access or location or whatever. And App A can just launch this without asking, using a standard Android function called Start Activity. So Activity B gets launched, but it's kind of lurking, hidden for now. Okay, lurking. Step 2. Step 2. This is the invisibility cloak part. App A applies that custom animation we talked about, the one that makes Activity B basically transparent by setting its alpha value near 0, like 0.01. The super see-through trick. Exactly. And the attacker can be clever here. They can even make the animation zoom in slightly on a specific part of the invisible Activity B screen, like right onto the Allow button. Oh, so they're not just making it invisible. They're aiming the user's tap, precisely, like putting invisible crosshairs on the button they want you to hit. Okay, that's sneaky. What's step 3? Step 3. This is the actual deception. You, the user, are still looking at App A, the game, maybe. It looks perfectly normal. But technically, Activity B, the invisible one, has been placed on top of App A in the system's activity stack. A stack of clear pages, and B is on top. Perfect analogy. And because it's on top, even though you can't see it, it receives all your touch inputs. All your taps are going to invisible Activity B. Oh wow. And App A, the visible game, often puts fake buttons or targets right where the real invisible buttons on Activity B are located. So you tap the fake kill bug button, and you're actually hitting the real allow access button on the invisible screen. You got it. That's the core trick. Man. Okay, step 4. It sounds like it's already done the damage. Step 4 is the cleanup, making sure you never notice. Before that transparent animation finishes, before Activity B might even flicker into view for a millisecond, App A quickly relaunches itself. This action pushes Activity B back down the stack into the background. Poof, gone. You never saw the hidden screen you just interacted with. The whole thing feels seamless, like you just kept playing your game, but you've just granted permissions or performed an action you never intended. A malicious app uses a 4-step trick, launching a hidden screen, making it invisible, hijacking your taps, then relaunching itself to secretly capture your actions without you noticing. That is incredibly well orchestrated and terrifyingly simple in concept. How long does the attacker have to get that tap during the animation? Good question. Normally, these activity transition animations are capped at around 3 seconds. That's the intended window. 3 seconds isn't long, but if you're tapping rapidly, right. But here's another kicker the researchers found. There's a bug in how Android handles this sometimes, and that bug can allow the animation to run for up to 6 seconds. Double the time. Effectively doubles the attack window, which makes it much easier to snag an unwitting tap. And the impact? Well, we touched on it. There's a bug in how Android handles this sometimes, allowing the animation to run for up to 6 seconds, effectively doubling the attack window. So what's the real impact of TapTrap? It's significant. It bypasses runtime permissions, location, camera, contacts, microphone. The standard permissions we see all the time? Yep. But it can go further. It can trick you into granting device administrator permission. Ooh, that sounds bad. It is. That's like giving someone the master keys to your phone. They could potentially wipe it remotely. And it can also enable notification sniffing, stealing notifications, like 2FA codes. Exactly like 2FA codes. Those text messages or app notifications with login codes, TapTrap, could allow a malicious app to silently read those. Big problem. Wow. Okay, so TapTrap hits apps, it hits system permissions. Does it stop there? Or can this affect other things like browsing the web? That's a great point. And unfortunately, yes, it extends to the web too. Specifically, if you're using a browser that uses Android's custom tabs feature. Custom tabs? Aren't those used by like almost all major browsers? Chrome? Firefox? Most of the big ones, yeah. Chrome, Edge, Brave, Firefox, all use them extensively. When an app opens a web link using a custom tab, TapTrap can still work its magic. So how would that play out? Imagine you click a link in an app. It opens in what looks like the app's own little browser window. That's the custom tab. TapTrap could make you invisibly tap Allow on a website's request for, say, your location or camera access. So a random website could suddenly get my location because of this. Potentially, yes. Or it could even be used for classic web clickjacking, tricking you into clicking a button on a web page that does something malicious, like making an unauthorized purchase or liking a page you didn't intend to. So it's basically clickjacking, but using this invisible animation trick instead of just putting a fake button over a real one. Exactly. It leverages the TapTrap mechanism. And it's particularly effective because of how custom tabs often handle cookies, specifically something called LACs, same-site cookies. The technical details aren't super important, but the upshot is that this cookie handling makes many websites vulnerable to this kind of manipulation within a custom tab environment. Are all browsers affected? Not quite all. The research noted that Opera and UC Browser, for example, don't seem to be vulnerable in this specific web-based way because they handle custom tabs differently or don't support them in the same manner. Okay, so this really is different from older attacks. It's not about the system alert window permission, correct? Those older attacks needed that special draw over other apps permission, and Android has cracked down on that. TapTrap's animation-based approach just neatly sidesteps those existing defenses. That's why it works, even on modern Android versions. Okay, this is a lot to take in. So the big question for everyone watching, what does this actually mean for you? The core Android issue isn't fixed yet, you said. So are we just stuck? Or are there things we can actually do today? No, you're definitely not stuck. That's the important message here. While we wait for a full Android system patch, there are practical steps. Okay, good. And first, some credit where it's due. Browser makers move fast. Chrome and Firefox have already put in mitigation specifically against the custom tab exploit we just discussed. They got CVE numbers for their fixes. CVE 2025-3067 for Chrome. CVE 2025-1939 for Firefox. So updating your browser helps for the web part. Absolutely. And some privacy-focused Android versions, like Graphene OS, have already implemented patches for the core issue too. But, and this is the key thing, Google has confirmed that standard Android, the OS on most phones, is still vulnerable as of July 2025. The underlying vulnerability remains. Okay, so browsers are partly patched, some niche OS are patched, but standard Android still has the hole. Got it? So what are the concrete steps for us, the users? Right. There are three main things you can do right now to significantly reduce your risk. Lay them on us. Number 1. First, consider disabling system animations. This is probably the most direct countermeasure against TapTrap itself. Turning off the animations completely. Yeah, you usually find this option in your phone's developer settings or sometimes under accessibility settings. You'd set animation scales to 0 or turn them off. What's the downside? Well, it changes how your phone feels. Things will just appear instantly instead of smoothly animating in. It might feel a bit abrupt or less polished to some people. But functionally, it stops TapTrap cold because the attack needs those animations to work. Okay, so a potential change in feel, but a solid defense. What's number 2? Second, be hypervigilant with apps and permissions. This is always good advice, but even more critical now. What does hypervigilant mean here? 2 parts. First, stick to trusted app sources, primarily the Google Play Store. Avoid sideloading apps from random websites if you can. Second, and this is crucial, really scrutinize permission requests. Don't just tap allow reflexively. Pause and think. Exactly. Pause. Ask yourself, does this app really need this permission to do its job? Be especially wary if an app asks for powerful permissions like accessibility services or device administrator access. Even though TapTrap doesn't need the display over other apps permission, requests for any sensitive permission should make you stop and think now. Got it. Think before you tap allow. And number 3. Third, keep everything updated. Your Android operating system, all your apps, especially your browser, install updates promptly when they become available. Why is that so important? Because while the core Android patch might still be pending for many, app developers in Google can release partial fixes, workarounds, or improvements in detection within updates. Staying current ensures you benefit from any security enhancements as soon as they're rolled out. It's like keeping your digital immune system boosted. Okay, those are 3 really solid actual steps. Disable animations, be vigilant with permissions, keep updated. Those are your main shields right now. Thinking about that 76% statistic and the fact that everyone in the study missed the attack, it feels bigger than just individual protection, doesn't it? It really does. It brings up this idea of collective responsibility, maybe, in our digital lives. When a threat is this stealthy, this widespread, affecting potentially billions of devices, our individual awareness isn't just about protecting ourselves. You mean like telling other people? Exactly. Think about your family members, your friends, colleagues. How many of them use Android phones? Probably most of them, yeah. And how many of them have likely heard about TapTrap or understand how an invisible tap could trick them? Probably not many. True, it's not exactly headline news everywhere. So by understanding this yourself and then sharing what you've learned, maybe sharing this video, or just explaining the basic idea and the countermeasures, you're helping protect your own digital circle. You're strengthening their herd immunity, so to speak. I like that. Becoming part of the defense network for the people you care about. Because honestly, detecting this on your own seems almost impossible, based on that study. It's incredibly difficult for an individual user to spot in the moment. Awareness and preventative measures are key. Okay, so if you've listened this far, you're not just a passive user anymore. You've got the knowledge. You're kind of like an informed digital guardian now. You understand the trick, the hidden mechanics of TapTrap, and you know how to actively defend against it. That's pretty empowering, actually. It absolutely is. And let's make that empowerment concrete. Here are some super clear next steps. Let's hear them. 1. Seriously, take 5 minutes today. Go into your Android settings, find the animation controls, and just see what disabling them feels like. Maybe it works fine for you. Okay, 5-minute experiment. 2. Make a conscious commitment to yourself. The next time any app asks for any permission, just pause. Take 1 extra second. Evaluate it. Don't let it be muscle memory. Break the habit of blind tapping. Exactly. And 3. Share this knowledge. Tell at least one other person who uses an Android phone about TapTrap and these simple precautions. Text them a link, mention it over coffee, whatever. Help spread the word. Build that community defense. Check animations. Pause on permissions. Share the knowledge. Got it? That's the plan. Turning awareness into action. It really makes you wonder, though. As our phone interfaces get more complex, more reliant on slick animations and transitions, what else could be hiding there? How else could features designed purely for aesthetics or convenience be turned against us? Something to definitely mull over. A sobering thought and a reminder that the digital threat landscape is always evolving. Staying informed, staying vigilant. It's an ongoing process. Absolutely. Well, thank you for breaking down such a complex and, frankly, scary topic into something understandable and actionable. I hope I've shed some light on it. And thank you for tuning in to the Privacy Effort. We hope this shortcut to understanding TapTrap helps you stay safer online. Until next time.